started fleshing out a plan for this. So let me know when you're ready to go, and I'll I'll put that slideshow up there for you.
Okay, well, pretty much ready whenever.
Alrighty, let's go ahead.
Okay, well, start. Okay, so, well, am I introducing the RRPO or the thing?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Well, this is the meeting for the Ridge Art Preservation Organization. We are as an organization, a nonprofit that is dedicated to the preservation and promotion of the historic Ridge Route, which was constructed in 1915, paved between 1918 and 1920, and bypassed and more or less forgotten in 1933. Now we have a volunteer service agreement with the Angeles National Forest, which does allow us access onto the roadway, and as such, we do have a very vested interest in the road beyond our nonprofit. We are currently in the process of developing a plan for the road, a plan for its reconstruction, its restoration, reconstruction, and what we want to see out of it once it's open. It's a multi-pronged plan. We kind of have a skeleton of a plan right now, some basic starters, and the idea here is to get more people involved with that plan and get it going, and hopefully have it more fleshed out in the coming months. It's going to take a while, but it is something that we need to get going.
Alrighty.
So,
okay.
As you can see, the current condition of the roadway has a lot of issues. There are places where there's landslides, washouts. There are portions of the roadway that are failing. There are sections where it's basically completely covered in dirt or other debris. And these are things that either make it difficult for vehicles to pass, in particular emergency vehicles. So part of the plan is to make the roadway easier for emergency vehicles to pass. We also have, see there's a landslide at the southern end, which is slowly eating away at the roadway. And we're looking for ways to fund that, as well as actually get the work done. So this is our attempt. Well, it's going to be more than an attempt. We will be successful in actually developing this plan for the road. And let's see. So that's kind of the basics of well, I'll add that we also have utility companies that actively use the roadway, from gas lines, oil pipelines, and all the power lines that run along the road. Those companies also have a vested interest in the roadway, especially if they want to maintain ready access to their facilities. The roadway, in the section that we deal with, is also on the National Register of Historic Places, and it offers a manner of protection for the road, which does help us in many regards. It doesn't offer funding, so there is that, but it does offer a lot of help with the road. For example, when the utility companies do go up onto the road and make their repairs, they have certain restrictions and requirements that are, for having vehicles over the road, so that they don't damage our roadway. Well, our as in public, but the roadway. So with that in mind, move over to the. We'll just start with kind of the basic proposed project slide or part of the plan.
Okay.
And as you can see here, this is a document that we've been working on. This itself is working off of older efforts as well as current. And you can see we do have kind of a four-part plan beyond that. Well, let's start with the goal. So the goal, like I said, as I said earlier, is to preserve, protect, and restore the roadway. With that in mind, we're looking to have it a lot more accessible to the general public, so they can certainly enjoy this historic resource. But to a point, we don't want people, so many people overrunning it and creating their own problems up there, and that itself adds additional resources that the Forest Service has to so they have to manage their end. We're merely a volunteer organization with the road. It's still their road, so they're the ones that it in the long term falls on. So we're going to try to find ways of funding that, funding the ability for them to get more people up there and basically fix the road beyond what our capabilities are. The preservation of the roadway is just basically keeping in a state of arrested development. We're not looking to have it looking like it was in the last was being 1933, but wouldn't that be nice for a few sections? So that's where reconstruction and restoration come in. We can take a few sections of the roadway and make it as pretty as could be. You drive half a mile or so, maybe less. Obviously there will be costs to that over a restored section. Now, restored does not mean complete resurfacing of the roadway and brand new concrete, brand new asphalt. It's restoration of the existing material. That could also be in addition to adding guardrailing, albeit that guardrailing would have to comply with modern standards. States such as Oregon have done that for their section of the Columbia River Highway, which is an historic highway of a somewhat similar vintage to the Ridge Route. And additionally, we have rehabilitation. So trying to keep the roadway in its historic character, doing what we can to keep it open when it's during a certain season, and keeping people off of the roadway during winter. For example, when winter 21, we had three large big rigs try to traverse the roadway, get stuck, cause a lot of damage, and that's something we want to avoid. Something as simple as increased signage. So that's a part of our increased signage, increased maintenance to prevent securing the gates, making sure they're secured. So if we go on to the part of the next page there. So we have already instituted part of this plan through our what we call a Clean Up the Ridge Route events, where they're generally once a month. They could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on availability, weather, you name it. Not going out there when it's 100 degrees, and we're not going out there in the rain. So there's parameters we have, but you can see we do have a plan for clearing the roadway, brushing the roadway, making sure brush is not blocking the roadway, which can also add to fire hazards. The Clean Up the Ridge Route events do get into that, where we work on clearing the roadway of various debris, brushing it in areas, cleaning the drains, making sure that the water is flowing smoothly across, out off the roadway and under the roadway, and not damaging the roadway. Pavement rehabilitation, one of the projects we've implemented is to our pothole repair, which is not meant to make the roadway smoother. It is meant to preserve the roadway and to reduce damage to concrete and allow it, basically trying to make access easier for emergency vehicles. But beyond that, we're looking at the possibility of repairing additional sections of concrete where it's failed, and additional sections of asphalt where it's completely failed. And we also have a plan for the historic sites along the roadway, of which there are many. But we already in the past added monuments, but those monuments have long since faded. Some of them are damaged, and we need to rehabilitate those. One of the plans is to also modernize them with QR codes and links to websites, so that way we can also increase the knowledge of the Ridge Route Preservation Organization, which some people go over the road, don't even know it exists. But a first page on Google, you'll find us. So we are accessible. And this is also in addition, like I said, asset protection, installing barriers to keep people from driving over such things as the tumble in. We don't want to have an issue where somebody decides to take down the arch or drive down the stairs or basically cause damage to any of the existing historic resources. And how are we going to do that? What ideas do we have for that in terms of specific sites? That's something that particular section needs to be opened up. And we're going to go to in each historic site, especially the ones that are listed on the National Register and the general places along the road, and come up with our plan to protect those sections. And additionally, a little bit further down there, one of the ideas is for a mileage system to be on the roadway. There's currently have markers for the culverts, which were installed by our RPO. But in addition to that, we need a way to figure out where things are. So if nothing else, we can report it to the Forest Service, and the Forest Service would know where things are. We can't just say, oh yeah, it's just north of Kelly's. Okay, where is that in relation to anything else? Other than roughly halfway between Los Angeles and Bakersfield. Get a narrower metric than that. So the idea is to install markers at similar style to what exists on maybe some other roads, but more even just right now, similar to the culvert markers that we have. Those markers have been invaluable in in our efforts to rehabilitate the roadway, because we know, okay, culvert 65 is failing. Not just 0.1 miles north of a point, we actually have a specific number, and we are working to assign those mileages and go, to what we have something more to work with. And additionally, so roadway access, we're looking at where are the issues, what do we want, what is needed. So the gates have their issues. Either they're not locked or they're compromised in one way or the other. This is a problem because, let's say a fire occurs, they need to have that roadway closed. They can't have just errant people up there, which could be endangered by a fire. Or they could be creating a fire. I mean, there's any number of issues with that. We do want the public to have access to the roadway. I mean, we're a part of that public, but it should be tempered with issues with it simply being an historic roadway and an area that is fairly remote. So with the Forest Service, they've agreed on this to at least on a limited, well, not a limited basis, but on a tentative basis, I guess, that the roadway, when it does reopen officially, it will be on a seasonal basis. The idea is keep people off the roadway during winter when it's muddy or snowy or otherwise, and ensuring the gates are closed during those points if there is a storm outside of the normal gate, normal closure dates. Additionally, working with the County of Los Angeles on with their sections of the roadway to get signs posted that to dissuade people from traversing the roadway as a through road, as if it were another road, like Lake Hughes Road, or, well, really just Lake Hughes Road. That's the nearest north-south county roadway. We, again, we're, if somebody wants to traverse it, that's That's assuming the roadway is open. That is fine. We're not trying to dissuade that. We're just trying to dissuade normal travelers from adding additional unnecessary traffic to this road that could potentially damage it. So, and we also, working on developing, I would say, our threshold, what we want to see before the roadway is open. We do want to see it open, but if it's open tomorrow, additional, and it's a well-known thing that it's not just, hey, the gates are open, it's now the roadway is open, big announcement made. Additional traffic could cause problems. There's sections where there's rebar exposed. It could be a flat tire. AAA hasn't been servicing up there for 90 years. So, there's issues. It's again a remote area, and people won't necessarily take their not everybody's going to drive with as much care over the sections that are failing, which could exacerbate the problem. So, and there's also points where you don't know that the roadway is undermined. We want to make sure that people are aware of that, and we want those stabilized, all of those things stabilized prior to opening. With that in mind, I'm not talking about, we are not talking about fully done, everything's, there's no issues along the roadway, but there are sections where, like if the concrete is failing, there's rebar exposed, it could puncture a tire. Just having those sections repaired there's not as many of those. So it's not it's going to be a process, but it's something that we are in the process of dealing with. And beyond that, we are looking at just one other thing is just adding signage, also prohibiting large trucks and other vehicles, buses included, from the roadway. There may be special events where a bus may traverse the roadway, but even then, not sure they really should be in the first place.
You're pretty tight.
It's pretty tight. It is a narrow roadway. I mean, at maximum, it's a 20-foot roadway.
Easily.
And with tight turns. It's a roadway built over 100 years ago. And
for Model Ts and
making sure that the gates are, as we've talked about, that they are in good order and able to be locked as needed.
Alrighty.
So how are we going to do all this? Well, that's, again, one of the things where we need that help. So there's various methods of funding that can be obtained. One thing I will mention is that the RRPO, the Ridge Route Preservation Organization, is a nonprofit. So we have a greater ability to look for funding than the government does. The government is restricted on where they can obtain funding beyond, of course, tax dollars, okay, but there's more than that. It's complicated with government funding. It doesn't mean that can't be obtained. It just means that we have a greater ability to reach out, especially to companies. So, and possibly even obtaining grants through the California OHV system. I'm not sure the exact thing on there, but there's methods through that, going through the Forest Service. So, I mean, they can raise funds through, there are permits required for utility companies to access the road. The additional funding could come from there. I mean, so something as simple as permit cost $1,000 this year. Well, you know what? Sorry, maintenance costs have gone up on the roadway. Now permit costs $5,000. Whatever it is, I don't know what the numbers are now, but that is definitely a method where the Forest Service can obtain more money that is dedicated to that roadway.
What does it take to get that approved?
That is something that would have to go through, at a minimum, it would have to go through the local Forest Service office. Okay. I don't know what level it needs to go up above that, because it could be something that is uniform throughout the entire Forest Service system. Mm-hmm. But I do know that they do have a lot of, my understanding is that they do have some latitude in the negotiations of those permits. How often those permits renew is not something I'm aware of. It could be
Okay.
once a year. It could be every 10 years.
Okay.
And,
And then what's the status on the OHV grant? Did you reach out to them?
well, that one, we are at least on the list of agencies that are able to get that, but it is a
Okay.
very competitive grant, and that may be something where we can work in conjunction with the Forest Service, because if nothing else, they have a greater ability to get such grants. Because in the long run, it is still not our roadway, so there is that issue with obtaining funding for that. It doesn't preclude it. It just adds another layer of complication for us.
Okay.
I was consulting with a buddy of mine a couple of days ago, and one source that he suggested was maybe talking to Cal Fire.
That could be
do they
another.
fund things like this?
Yeah, for specifically for like the slide area.
Yeah.
Since that would be something directly affecting them.
Right.
All right. Does he have a contact with them?
No, he doesn't. It was just an idea that he had.
Okay.
That sounded to me like a good idea.
Okay. And then, Michael, you did you end up reaching out to the Highway Commission, Highway Association?
Not yet. I'm still looking for that information.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
Yes.
Hello. Remember the late Bob Blunt? His plan was he was the ranger of the Ridge Route area. For those online, he had a plan to do exactly what you're saying, to charge the utility companies a road fee for accessing their pipelines and whatever. And I am surprised that no one in the Forest Service has pursued that or even been interested in it. So Bob Blunt was 100% behind our organization. He even wanted to put up armadas, which is a fake front of buildings that used to be at every historic site. And let me throw in real quickly, every historic site, Tumble Inn, Sandbergs, all of them, the National Forest Inn, those in themselves are separately listed on the National Register, each and every one of them.
Okay.
So I think it's worthwhile that we press the Forest Service to start charging for access, as you pointed out.
Yeah, they are interested in that. I have spoken with the Forest Service, and they are open to that. I don't know what the status is currently. Communication is spotty at times, but it is something where it is something where they are indeed interested in that, and they know that could well be a good source of funding, or at least some sort of source of funding.
And the other thing is, in regard to off-highway vehicle funding, as you pointed out, also that part of the highway that's designated OHV is very limited, from the Tumble Inn to the road that used to go up to the
Sawmill.
I can't think. Mount Liebre, the road that goes up towards Mount Liebre. So that's the only part that could be funded for money in that access.
Yes, and that also happens to be a section where it is above the threshold for what they would consider a reasonable request. It's not something, we're not looking to do a small project. That would be a much larger request, and it's something that they are that the OHV, agency is, I guess, open to, is the easiest way to put it.
Okay. Yeah, that area
It
is
is something that,
pretty messed up too, especially coming north from the Tumble Inn. Especially in the winter months, it gets pretty nasty. So that definitely does need some attention.
yeah, there are some landslides in that area where the road, where the materials come down onto the road, and that has definitely created an ongoing issue.
Especially where the Tumble Inn campground used to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, so additionally, going back though to utility companies, is that they could also privately fund upgrades or, other work on the roadway. For example, they could be another source of funding for the landslide repair,
Okay.
if necessary, or
The
any
thing
other
that
sections.
the thing that concerns me, perhaps more than anything, is unless we grab the interest of a particular person in the Forest Service, they're not going to do any more than what we press them to do. In my opinion and experience, when I was involved, like I say, Bob Blunt was 100% behind us, wanted to raise money for the road, and he was the ranger at the time. So if he could do it, why can't somebody presently do it and get behind us? They know everything you're doing today as the representative president of the organization. I would think that I would expect a little bit more feedback from somebody in the Forest Service, whether it's Ray or whoever it would be. But again, my experience, unless you push these people, they don't do any more than they have to.
With that in mind, Ray has actually been the one to help push this plan.
I'm glad to hear that.
I asked him if he had, an idea of what sort of things that we should have in it or what have you, and he actually started the document.
Excellent.
So we do have some backing.
Okay.
But with that in mind, so also, just an additional for funding, and doesn't obviously not for, full rehabilitation of the roadway, but, volunteers. There's numerous things that we have done or can do that can get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
the rest of the document is it's kind of a little bit of copy and paste, because it's kind of a little bit of things I'm trying to that's what I'm looking for, incorporate additional bits that have either been written from or just trying to incorporate additional parts of other documents.
Okay.
That's kind of the basic. That is the basic, skeleton of a plan that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where additional help is necessary.
Of course.
And one of the things I'm kind of proposing is that we, there's right now looks like 5 sections, a clear roadway of debris and brush, repair and clean drains, pavement rehabilitation, interpretive site rehabilitation and augmentation, and roadway access and signage. So obviously some are more important than others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Roadway access and signage, that is something that is some of it is concurrent with existing needs. And by that, I mean the ability to restrict access as necessary by from the Forest Service or whoever.
Okay.
So interpretive site rehabilitation and augmentation is something that is important, but it is less important than making sure there's a roadway to get there.
Yeah.
So my thought is, we go through, we don't have to go through every little point. This is just kind of an introductory thing. but if we want to break this down and start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or figure out which one is more important, and do what we can to augment this as much as possible. It doesn't have to be a huge document, but it's probably going to be more. The section, the number 1, for example, is probably going to be more than 6 lines.
Okay.
So,
So you're talking up over here.
yes, no,
Where is it at? Right there.
no, further down.
Nope.
So it's this here, and then right below that is there.
Okay.
So basically, starting to go over the document and augment it and update it. Put in where are the issues. Either start making specifics.
Okay.
And
So looking at
our plan.
this, what we've currently been able to do is hand tools, shoveling as much as we can get off the road. On here, you're talking about skid steer, bobcats, all of that. What does it take to get that up there? I know areas like Swedes Cut are going to need a little bit more firepower.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is
And
something.
are we?
Basically, we need to get a permission from the Forest Service to use heavier equipment. Their major
Uh-huh.
concern is ensuring basically the integrity of the historic roadway.
Right.
Okay, so is this a situation where we kind of partner with the Forest Service, say you bring the gear and your person that can thumbs up us, and then we will keep watch on the road and we'll bring people as backup? Or is this we can bring in our people if we have somebody who's willing to bring up a skid steer and they just have a representative there to make sure nothing burns down?
Could be either one, and both of those are things that we should have in the plan.
Okay.
So it's things like that. I basically ideas to expand on this and actually have it in the document. And if we want to have it where we all work on one section, and we could just do that, just kind of break it up and not necessarily doing it right now. It's more, kind of you take your portion home to work on, or we find a way to work on it.
You're saying working on the road, or you're saying working on this document?
I mean, on the document itself.
Okay. All right. Copy that. So we get through here. Brush clearance. We can do that in the spring just fine. I'm sure we have a number of people who have weed whackers. So we're good to clear how far off the center of the road?
Well, that's also something that I need to verify. I'm not sure how far they did, how the Forest Service did when they brushed the roadway in for the lake fire, and I believe that was 2020.
Okay, so check on that, and then we can take action on that in the spring. And then we do have clearance to clear brush in sites like the Tumble-In National Forest and all that stuff.
I believe so. Yes, we do have clearance to clear brush, along the roadway, and as far as I'm aware of historic sites, there's no specific stipulation. It's just when we start getting to digging, things of that nature, then we have to obviously take more care.
Okay, great. Repair and clean drains. Have we had an inspection of the drains by the Forest Service at all? Is that just on us right now?
Right now, I think that's pretty much on us. A formal inspection, I don't know what their normal schedule would be. How in depth would they do that? They maintain quite a few, many miles more. So I don't know what their thing is, and that's something where we can I can contact Forest Service and find out what their method is.
Okay, let's find out if they need to be involved in that, or if we just keep going as the way we're going. We've been working on, Jamie and I have actually made a spreadsheet of the list of drains and the mileage and the numbers, and we've been filling in the condition as we travel the road and we spot
That's-
it. Yeah, to help with the clean up the ridge route event, so we can say you're going to these four
Okay.
drains here.
Oh, that's really smart. So
which
now
is
we know.
very helpful. That's also part of the plan.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And then replace and or repair drains as needed. That's a harder one. So we have that drain that failed at Kelly's. We have the one in the landslide. I'm not sure if Swedes Cut was that actually drainage at one point, or did that just decide it's going to be drainage? Because those are our three big ones that are going to cause problems.
Are you talking about the one below at on Serpentine?
Or Serpentine Drive, sorry.
Yes. There. I haven't been able to find a drain site there.
Okay.
There is a drain site. There is a drain site there.
Okay.
It's on both sides of the road.
So the
Not at
one,
that spot.
the bigger
Yeah, I
photo
know.
in this one is the one that's the problem child. If you can see it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's slightly better at this time because we have also, added. We've
Sandbags.
reduced the ability for the. We added sandbags so that way water's no longer flowing that way.
Yeah, we're going to need to at some point redo those sandbags. Visually, that does look like it could have the potential for a failure like down south at the slide area down south. So
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's a major failure, and the Forest Service puts in the new drains or repairs the ones. The one we're looking at is a more modern drain. It isn't an original. It's not an original one. So they've repaired that before, and I think we should bring it to their attention to repair it again because we don't have the ability to do that kind of construction.
Okay.
Right.
And that's why we need to have the inventory of the drains so we can present them with here's what we found.
Okay.
Bottom line, they're supposed to protect the road. That's an absolute fact, and it's in the law. And if they
Yeah.
allow a drain failure to take out the road, it's on their back. So I agree with you 100%. We should bring it to their attention in writing,
Yes.
and so we have proof we told them so.
Okay. And then Jamie, you met with that man from the Forest Service. He was a division leader.
yeah, division manager. I don't have the business card right here with me. Something like
Okay.
that. But I could go ahead and try and contact with him.
Yeah, I wonder if he would be willing to meet us up on the road one day, because he was up there looking at it. And if we can kind of show him what's going on, where the problem children are, and show him how severe, the landslide is and how severe this is.
Yeah, I think that would be very, very valuable for us and for him. At the
Okay.
time I had met him, and I off the top of my head, I think it was last spring or maybe early
Mhm.
summer. He had said that he had just been moved to this division or whatever the terminology would be just a month prior. So he wasn't that familiar with conditions on the entire road. He did, of course, he had noticed that slide area there on the south end. But yeah, I think that would be a definite need for us to see if we could arrange a tour with him.
Okay.
And we
Jamie,
and-
can you reach out to him on that?
Yeah. And then what we could do also is we could give him a printout of that spreadsheet that we're working on.
Of the culverts?
Yeah. With notes
Okay.
on it, so he could kind of have an idea of where things are as far as mileage and stuff.
Yeah. All right. The next section is pavement rehabilitation. We've started that with the potholes. That's kind of step one. I know, Michael, you were talking about possibly repaving the rougher sections and having it accurate to historic specs. Do you have any specifics on which sections you want to hit, who we're going to reach out to, how it's going to get funded?
That's kind of a bigger question.
Okay.
I mean, there are many sections.
Hmm.
In terms of like an actual restoration of a specific section, the things that come to mind would be Horseshoe Curve.
Okay.
Horseshoe Curve could also be the sections just north of Tumble Inn, where there's, bits of roadway that have, old curves that have basically, they're still traversable, but a lot of brush needs to be cleared, and their potholes repaired so they can be clean again.
Okay, so let's get specific with this. Let's figure out what are the exact sections that we want to be rehabilitated, and see if we can find specific funding for it, like that HOV funding.
Yes, and that's one of that's based exactly one of the things I'm wanting to do.
Okay, good. All right, interpretive site. Our Boy Scout, I saw an email come through for him today, going back and forth with the Forest Service about getting it set up. So that's in motion right now.
And then beyond that, of course, the asset protection, putting up barriers. I've spoken with Ray Kidd about that possibility.
Okay.
They're very much for it.
Okay.
But the issue is what sort of barriers, and because we want the ability to pull off, but we don't want the ability to drive through. So how do we limit things without it, putting up a giant fence?
Okay.
We don't want to subtract from it, but we also don't want to damage it.
Yeah.
What surprises me is the landslide at the south end
Mm-hmm.
is severe, and a heavier vehicle going over that, as we all know, could collapse and go down the hill with whoever's in the car with. I am surprised because the Forest Service, they're the liability for that road. In other words, if somebody gets hurt on that road because they don't have barriers up, you guys put the barriers up recently, re-put them up, as I understand, and the Forest Service hasn't done anything. They didn't put signs up. To my knowledge, they didn't even put up sawhorses or anything, unless I'm mistaken.
We put those things up.
Yeah.
So why are they not concerned about the liability? Because bottom line, the government would pay for anybody that gets hurt on that road.
Yeah. And maybe that's we need to bring it up to them, is say that this is on you, this is a liability, because just saying it's there and it's a problem hasn't really brought much to the table.
Sydney, that's an excellent point. That's why I suggest when we have, like, the drain at Serpentine Drive that's damaged, and the failure of the road here on the south end, we should write them a letter with what do you call when you send a letter, you get the confirmation back?
The certified letter?
Certified letter, so that we have done our part, and because they could come back on us, bottom line. Well, this is a stretch, I agree, but since we're the representatives of the road, they could maybe, this is a stretch, as I say, well, you didn't point that out to us, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. I just think that it's easier to send the certified mail, and that way
Okay.
we cover ourselves liability wise.
Well, they are indeed, they
Jeanette?
are aware of the landslide. That much I know.
Well, they're
So on
aware
the
of it, but they're doing nothing about it. That's what
Yeah,
concerns
that's,
me. They say they want to help. They haven't even put up sawhorses or warning signs. That's a big problem
Yeah,
well, the
from the
bigger
way I look at it.
is
well,
the
and that's true. The warning signs that are now there,
Came from
we
up north.
yeah, we put
Yeah.
them there, and we put those bollard, those
Yeah.
things that you epoxy to the pavement. We put those on there too.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so certified letter, does that just go to the Angeles Forest headquarters? Does that go to a
yes,
certain
it would be
contact?
it would be directed to the
Forest supervisor.
yes.
Okay.
Who is the Forest Service supervisor? Mike?
I'm not sure.
Open it up.
It looks like Jerry Vale.
Okay. Okay, so let's write that up.
Or Jeffrey
And
Vale.
then, okay. If Michael, do you have time to do that, or do you want one of us to take that on?
The secretary would normally do it. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is.
I think that's it's Evan, right?
Although per the website, it's
No, I'm
Roman
treasurer.
Torres. So
Oh, okay. So then that would be Samuel. Okay, he's not on with us today, but we'll talk to him. All right. So then back on track here would be access and signage. We added the signage to the landslides. I think it would be pretty easy to just get a simple road closed, landslide ahead sign to attach to each one of the gates. It would cost some money, but nothing too insane. On the gates, I mean, Jamie or I could pick up some locks, some master locks, and throw it on there during the storms at the very least. Because we've reached out to the Forest Service countless times about those gates being unlocked during dangerous points in times with that landslide. And it's been roughly the same. Yeah, there's opening dates. That's a little bit ahead of us where we're at right now.
So the plan itself, the plan is written, and this, like I said, a skeleton of a plan. There's a lot more to
Okay.
add. It's call it a mix of wish lists and current needs,
Okay. Great.
and an
Any
ongoing
thoughts?
structure for the roadway itself to ensure that it exists for the future.
All right. Cool. So any thoughts on this document? Anything that Michael would need to add here? Anything that needed to be clarified other than what we just discussed?
I think it's all covered, to be honest. You guys always cover everything, so it's perfect either way.
I think he did a damn good job, to be truthful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we
All right.
basically need to expand on it, and like certain sections, like for example the rehabilitation outline, whatever section is necessary.
Okay.
Between mile 3 and 3.8, this section, and
Okay.
and each interpretive site, what is necessary to what is needed, and what do we want,
Right.
and how can that want be implemented.
Okay.
and
What?
maintained.
You know,
that's
regard.
going.
I'm sorry to go ahead. When
No,
you're done, let me know.
I'm done. Basically, it's the idea is that we have an ongoing. It's not just let's get it to this state. It's how do we keep it going?
Yeah.
How do we present to the Forest Service options for their roadway that we're
Okay.
happy with, that they're happy with?
I have a thought. Instead of, are we still planning on putting up picture monuments at every historic site?
As of right now, yes.
I was gonna say
We
that
have
would
a
be a
Boy
great
Scout who's
idea
working
in
on that.
terms of signs.
They will be
I'm sorry.
modified.
Yes, as of right now, we have a Boy Scout who's working on getting those restored.
Oh, that's his. Okay. I was thinking, you know, vandalism. The signs have been replaced twice, you know,
Mhm.
from when I was involved more, and they deteriorate, they're vandalized. I was thinking, you mentioned about, what do you call that? The QR code or whatever you call it.
Yeah, so
The
you
way
can
to
scan it
connect
with your
to
phone.
a website.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting up, you know, picture of the site, put the code up at every site, but not the monument, and then they can go to their phone and look up a picture. I don't know. That way,
Like
Yeah.
is the history of the site or something like that.
no, a picture of the site.
Well, yeah,
And you can include a brief history as it
right,
has been,
right,
but that way it would preclude vandalism. But
right.
Yeah. That's a
those
pretty
signs are
actually
very expensive. Go
yeah.
ahead.
That's a pretty easy thing to do too. I mean, I had a bunch of stickers made, and we've been adding them to any of the little uprights for each section, and those are pretty easy to get made to the same size as, you know, about this big.
Right.
And if we have somebody put together all of that on the website, I can have those made for each section.
Yeah, and that would be good. And then if a QR code, little tag or whatever at each site, if that got vandalized or stolen or whatever, it would be easy to
Replace it.
replace it, to make a new one and just put it back.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a sticker.
Exactly.
All right, that's simple enough. We can do that. Jamie, do you want to help me with the website and getting those put together, and then I'll have the QR codes made up for each page?
Yes.
Or
You'll just have to help me figure out how to do stuff on the website, but yes.
no problem.
Something
I'll
I
help
can
you with that.
also, of course, be involved in because I am familiar with the website.
Okay, great. Yeah, we just have to make a page for each one of the sites. And then I'll just take the link and make it a QR code, and we can get it made into stickers.
I was gonna say, because you guys have the interactive map on the website, right, of each of the points of interest along the ridge route. I mean, if you could,
Let me see if
use
that's on there.
I was gonna say, if you could somehow link, like, you know, QR code at the site itself, but also have the same, like, brief history with the picture on the map page or whatever.
Yeah, we can do that.
So, you know, for people that can't, you know, drive up the ridge route, they can still see, you know, the history and the pictures and all of that along the, you know, interactive map or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael has put together a virtual tour of the road.
Right. Yeah, I remember my.
So maybe we can adapt that
Right.
for the
Right.
RRPO site.
Right.
That I've had up since the 1996 or 7.
Oh wow. Yeah, we can adapt that for the RRPO site.
Yeah, I have no problem with going over, you know, some of it and, you know, making it work.
Right.
Okay. Great.
So as you can see, there's a lot to do, but we do have, we have a start. And
It's a
just,
good start.
adding to that and, adding additional ideas to the plan, either, like I said, a wish list. This is what we really would love to see, or this is what needs to be done.
Okay.
Is there going to be at like the next board meeting a final like plan where we can, I guess, vote to adopt? You know what I mean? Vote officially to adopt that plan of action.
Yeah, that's what this is trying to be.
Okay.
That's what we're developing.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Well, are we all good to go here? Anything else you guys want to discuss?
I think this is a real good start.
This is a really good start. Thanks.
I
Mike,
don't have
for
anything
this.
at this time, but I say you all have the document,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
send hey, let's reword this part, let's add this wording,
Okay.
pick a section, go with it,
Okay.
and we'll get this done.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
Awesome.
Thank you all for joining on here.
Thank you for putting this all together.
Yeah, and thank you, Michael, for getting everything all, condensed down to a document
Right.
or grand scheme into something simple here.
Several pages.
There is a lot. The document will be less simple, but that is it will be for
Oh, yeah.
a good cause.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
too.
You too.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.